Hello, I am Melissa Schlegel, and this video will give you a brief tour of the online lecture and lab sections of Geology 104, Natural Hazards and Environmental Geology. When you log onto Blackboard, you will first see the announcement page, where I will post announcements, such as due dates for assignments. I will also report a weekly news report of some hazard in the news. This week is worst Boise winter in years. Blame La Nina, experts say. Natural hazards have social and economic impacts, and hopefully these posts will help you be more aware of these impacts. You can always send me links of hazards in the news, and if I like them, which I'm guessing I will, I'll post them. Next item in the red column, faculty information. Here's my awesome picture. I always look like that. Maybe. Not really. Okay. The most important part of this page is my contact info. The best way to get a hold of me is through email. I check it regularly. In the red column below faculty information is the syllabus and course schedule. Please read the syllabus. Important to note that you must be concurrently taking the Geology 104 lab with the lecture, and you must pass the lab in order to pass the course. Grading follows the scheme right here. Your final grade will be comprised of both the lab and the lecture grade. The lab grade will be worth exactly 25%. Exactly 25% of your total grade. I use fractions to figure this out, so even though the points are not exactly 25% of the total points, the lab is still only worth 25% of your total grade. Everything else is pretty normal. You see here, discussion board responses and answers are worth 15 points each week that they're assigned. They're only not assigned on weeks that you have tests. There's study guide quizzes. They have a variable range from about 10 to 20 points. And there's a class project right here. We'll talk about it. It's worth 150 points. There's 3 exams, 50 points each, and a final exam worth 150 points. Let's move down to suggestions for success. First suggestion: watch and participate in the learning media, pay attention, take notes, etc. Next, read the associated chapter in the textbook. The third bullet point: respond to the discussion board questions. Very important. Get points that way. Next one, prepare for and take the study guide quizzes. And of course, review your answers so that tricky questions won't trick you the next time. Next bullet point, study for tests. Obviously, these tests will primarily be composed of the study guide quiz questions. So take and learn from the study guide quizzes, and you'll be preparing for the tests. And last bullet point, email me if you have problems that affect your course performance before you've missed a lot of coursework. We can usually work things out if I know what's going on. You will still need to do the work, but we can work out how you can do the work. Got it? So email me, talk to me, let me know what's going on. Course expectations. I expect you to put in the time you need to learn the material, however long that really is. I say here approximately 8 to 12 hours per week. It's really based on how quickly you learn and what you need to do to learn. I suggest spending a lot of time studying for the tests There's a lot of points in that, and also working very hard on the class project at the end and studying super duper thoroughly for the final. It's where last semester a lot of people let themselves down on the final. So that's what I would suggest. Next, attendance. This is important, especially for the first 2 weeks of the class. Participation in weekly discussion boards is counted as attendance. So if you're not attending, i.e. if you're not participating in the discussion boards, you're marked as absent. So if that happens in the first week or the second week, you are automatically dropped from the course. Let me say that again. Participation in weekly discussion boards is counted as attendance. If you don't attend the first week or the second week, you are automatically dropped from the class. So participate in the discussion boards, especially the first 2 weeks of the course if you want to continue in the class. But if you'd like to succeed in the class, continue to participate in the weekly discussion boards throughout the course. Let's see. Well, we're moving down to what I consider the most important page. It's the course calendar, course schedule. Here we go. We've got date, and I just have the date of the first day of the week. So this is the Sunday date. The week number, the topic, discussion board assignments and study guides quiz, and a lab activity. And so each week we cover about one chapter. As you see, I expect you to read the chapter, watch posted media, and answer study guide questions and then take the study guide quiz. Why? Well, because a reformatted subset of these questions will be on the quizzes and the exams. The study guide quizzes, or the study guide questions can be found prior to the quiz under course documents. I'll show you later. And the next bullet, if you know the complete correct answers to the study guide questions, you will rock the study guide quizzes and the exams, because the same questions are going to be on the exams and the quizzes. Next, discussion board assignments and study guide quiz. So your discussion question answers and the study guide quizzes are due Friday by midnight. But you're also required to respond to other students, and those responses for the discussion questions are due the following Monday by midnight. We'll come back to that again, but yeah, so let's start with this week. Well, let's start with next week, the 22nd. Here we go. This is the date, the 22nd. The discussion question and the quizzes are due by the end of the day on the 27th, but you have until the 30th to respond to other students' discussion question answers. I hope that's clear. Okay, also due on Friday is the lab activity, except where noted, which is Saturday for the first week, because we start on Tuesday. But all the rest are due on Friday at midnight. Okay, moving on. We have 3 exams and 1 cumulative final exam. These 3 tests, exam 1, exam 2, and exam 3, will be on Blackboard, open note, but severely timed. So you have to know what's going on. You don't have time to like sit and ponder for hours each question. It's timed. Each test has 5 extra credit questions. Yay for you. The final Down here will be proctored in the testing center and will follow a similar format to the 3 previous exams. But you don't get any notes and there is no extra credit. So that's kind of sad. That's why you really need to study for that exam, because it's only your brain, no notes. And you'll need to schedule your final exam in the testing center at least 2 business days prior to taking the final exam. You will also need to take a photo ID. There is a class project. You can see that right here. Class project due by Friday at midnight. It will be a paper or a video, and it will be on a specific natural hazard. If it's a paper, it's 3 pages long. If it's a video, it's about 10 minutes long. Oof. And you pick a specific natural hazard, like the 1980 Mount St. Helens eruption, or another specific hazard would be the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. You get to pick your specific natural hazard just to be sure you can meet the requirements of the rubric. You got to get your topic approved by me, and I'll show you where to do that. Some natural hazards just don't have a lot of information, and sometimes more than one person wants to do Mount St. Helens or whatever. We want everybody to have their own specific hazard. So there's a rubric for this class project, and I'll show you where that is too. Lab assignments accompany each chapter, and the lab assignments are in the lab Blackboard shell. And they're worth 20 points each. There's a math review lab this first week. It's meant to be a review. It's meant to be pretty easy. It's still worth 20 points. And before we leave the course schedule, note that the due dates are indeed Friday for most of the labs except for the first week. The same as with the quizzes and the initial discussion answers that you have. Everything's due on Friday, but then the responses to other student questions are due on the following Monday. And that's because I want you to have the hard stuff done by the end of Friday so you can kind of have a weekend. I don't want you to burn out because you pack in everything on Saturday and don't get to have any fun. It's just awful. I want you to have a weekend. The problem is last semester everybody waited until Friday at midnight to submit or post their answers to the discussion questions, and so people didn't have time to respond by Friday. That's why I'm letting you take all the way until Monday evening to respond to other students' answers. Okay, let's go back to the Blackboard. There we go. Here's our weekly modules. And here's our course documents. So those are the 2 things we'll talk about. First, we're going to go to course documents. We have our discussion questions, rubrics, and study guide questions. So for each chapter, you have the study guide that you can look at while you're going over the material. The quiz questions are based off of these study guides. So if you find the answer, you can write the answer down, and then when you come to the quiz, the answer for the question will be right there. And then the hardcore discussion question has a rubric, and I'll talk about hardcore and softcore discussion questions in a little bit, but here's the rubric for the hardcore discussion questions, so you know what I'm looking for and know how to get 100%. And there you go. This is where you find all those study guides and discussion question rubrics. And here's the class project description and rubric. There's a video for that under the weekly module for class project, but this is where you can find it and print it out if you'd like. Back up to the top. Let's go to the weekly modules. This is where you'll spend most of your time. So chapter 1, there we go.